Yes. We're back. Yeah, that was crazy. I just all kind of technical difficulties occurred right there. So I apologize, my peoples. Once again, you're with the Mortgage Mayhem podcast. We're gonna get started here. We got a guest that's coming on here shortly. If he was able to get my instructions in time, because just something all of a sudden went haywire here. I don't know what it was, but we're gonna push through regardless, right? So anyway, let's kind of just talk about a couple little things here that's going on in the world before we bring up Caleb. He should hopefully be popping on here shortly. Um, we'll be able to kind of get into an interview with him, and then we'll switch it up, transition back into the actual normal show. But I really and truly wanted to just kind of bring him up and just kind of go through his dynamic background, all the great things that he's doing out there in the world of real estate and title work and things of that nature. So it should be a great interview. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully he'll come up. Hopefully he got my instructions that I sent over to him after we just had all kind of hiccups. When you're dealing with this kind of stuff, virtual kind of stuff, it tends, it has a mind of its own sometimes, and it's just really nothing you can do about it. But it is what it is, and we'll make do. All right, so what do we got going on here, folks? All right, so we're good there. Just making sure I make all the last little minute, things that needs to be done before we actually bring him up, because I don't want any hiccups to be occurring once he comes up, folks. So we'll see what happens here. But in the meantime, in between time, hopefully everybody is doing great out there. I know earlier when we went live earlier, I was just kind of telling people the reasons why we wasn't here last week. I've been, under a lot of sinus stuff. I've never had sinuses before, so this is new to me. So it just kind of took me by storm. I was just also just talking about my visit to Maryland, visiting my sons. That was a great, visit, but I kind of went at the wrong time because it was the time when flights were being delayed left and right, and mine was being delayed left and right, to say the least. So it was just a crazy day. Spent a lot of time at airports, but I finally made it there and finally made it back home. So it was well worth it in the end. But it was it was tough. It was a lot of time spent in airports, a lot of flights canceled, getting on different flights, going to different cities, so I was in the mix, so I understand, what that was like for the people out there that was going through it, doing the same things that I was doing. It was not for the faint of hearts, but we're here. We're feeling, somewhat better, still kind of under the weather, but like I said, we're gonna push through, and we're gonna make this thing happen. So, it'll get greater later. If not this week, next week. So, hopefully we'll just get Caleb up here and we'll just be able to get into this interview, and then I can just kind of talk about some of the things that I want to talk about as far as current events. But I really wanted to get this interview out because I think it's going to be great for the audience. That's if he's able to pull up. Just trying to check. Okay, so just all right. So we should be good. Looks like he did get my info, and this is going to be great. So Caleb Christopher, his company is called creativetc.io, and that's creativetc.io. IO. So, it should be like a great interview. I can't wait until he comes up, and then we can, really get into this thing and, just have a good time. These interviews are always great because I get a lot of information out to you guys, but then I get educated myself, along the way. So just looking forward to him coming up, and then, us being able to, educate our audience, allow them to, understand the different aspects of, the world that investors and, folks who are, getting money out here in the world, just some of the things that you could potentially add to your plate and add to your, portfolio of things that you're working on, things that you're doing. So it's always great to be able to bring up the professionals because, it's nothing like them, So this is going to be good. I wish I would have been able to, have for whatever reason, what's going on. Oh, okay. A little bit more. They've changed the whole landscape here. In our virtual studio. So I'm just, like I said, I wasn't here last week, so I wasn't able to tap in and kind of. I just came in today, and it was just new changes. So I'm just kind of going with the flow. Going forward, it'll definitely be better. But this particular time, they just kind of came from out of nowhere with all new different changes, and I wasn't aware of it. So when I came in to, start doing my thing, it was like, oh my God, what is this? What is that? So I was live. I had to get out of the live just to kind of, get a feel for it, get an understanding of what is going on. And, here we are. So let's see. All right. So we got some hot topics for you too. So as soon as we wrap up this interview, I'll spend some time going through these topics, and then we'll exit stage right. And like I said, next week it's like I've been away, and I'm just kind of like getting back into the swing of things. Because even when I was here 2 weeks ago, I was sick as a dog, but I battled through it. So I'm just behind on everything. So in the next week or so, I'll definitely, clean things up. And we got Caleb here. Let's bring Caleb up to the stage. Hey, Caleb, how you doing, my friend?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great. Can you hear me good?
Yeah, I hear you. Fantastic.
Okay, perfect, man. I had a couple technical difficulties, man. I've been a little sick, sinus problems, so I'm just kind of getting back to the scheme of things, so to speak. So it was a little chaotic today, but we're
Gotcha.
here. We're so glad that you were able to make the interview. I know we've been kind of going back and forth over the past couple of weeks, trying to get this scheduled. So we're here now. Just to kind of get things started, can you just kind of give? I have a list of questions, of course, that I want to ask you, but just to kind of give the audience, just who you are, what your company is about, and then once you're done with that, then I'll kind of get into a couple great questions that I have for you that I think will be great for the audience.
Sure. So I run a company. Well, I own a company. I don't run it anymore. Haha. You can
That's
call me a
understood.
business owner.
Right,
Uh,
right.
I own a company called Creative TC, and that is transaction consulting for non-standard finance real estate things. So when I think of, Mortgage Mayhem, I'm like, all right, what's like, here comes the WWE wrestling match, Mortgage Mayhem. And it's like,
Right,
I'm
right.
in here like causing mayhem to mortgage lenders and things like that because I help people do sub 2 transactions. And so,
Okay.
but there's a lot of, I just did a podcast yesterday with a New York attorney and
Oh,
a real
wow.
estate agent. And that's like the hardest ones to convince on creative finance. And the guy told me afterward, he said, I opened the show and you could tell I did not think this was going to be a worthwhile topic.
Right,
But by the end of the show, you had me convinced. So I'm like, we're winning
right,
because there's a purpose behind the deal. So you don't do creative finance just willy nilly just because. You do it
right,
because somebody has a story and a need, and the market is not serving their needs, and so you turn to an alternative. And that's what my company does. We make creative finance safe, legal, and ethical, and that does often involve violating the mortgage terms, which is not criminal. Just to be clear, it's a
right.
civil issue. But I built a whole business out of the gray area.
Okay, good stuff, man. Well, I like the gray area, man. The gray area pays well. You know what I'm saying? If you're doing it ethically correct
Yeah.
and you know what you're doing, yeah, I love the gray area. Let's talk shop. So for those who don't know, just what is Creative TC, and what problems are you solving in the real estate and lending space?
Yeah. So Creative TC helps buyers, sellers, agents, wholesalers, etc., do these creative finance deals safe, legal, and ethical. That's our whole purpose. I built what wasn't there for me when I started doing creative finance deals. So, for example, take a seller who's had their house on the market for 6 months. They're on a second listing. I assume everybody, am I talking to an audience that understands listing agreements and 6 month time
Yes,
frames? Okay. So they've already expired once. It's worth what they owe on it, etc. That doesn't sell. And they have to come out of pocket to sell that property after paying agent fees and closing costs.
right,
That's not ideal. But then an investor comes along and says, hey, you've got a 4% interest rate. Can I just take over your payments? I'll even give you 10,000 cash. I'll pay all closing costs, give you 10,000 cash, and I'll just take over that property, the payments. But it's still your loan.
right,
Well, let's have a discussion. That sounds pretty interesting. You know what I mean? And so there
right,
has to be a story and a purpose. But if they don't have any other hope except to do a short sale or lose money or come out of pocket or go to foreclosure, then this investor offer sounds very attractive.
right.
And now it's a matter of, is there a reason we can't do this deal? And that's what I help, is I help people understand the implications, the risks, and make informed decisions. I run a consulting company, so own, not
Okay,
run. But that's
okay.
what Creative TC does. That was part one of your question. What was the second?
And so it was, what problems are you solving in the real estate and
Oh,
lending
there you go.
space?
Yeah,
So
so
you go ahead.
that's pretty much it. I gave a story which basically kind of told you what the problems we solve are. That's for the sellers and the buyers. We help them do safe, legal, ethical deals. But on the lender side, I'm not sure I'm really solving a problem for the lenders, except when that seller who still has a loan open goes to try to get their next loan.
Mm,
Well, then
okay.
it's like, all right, your debt to income ratio doesn't work. You can't get another loan. Well, what do you mean? Why not? Blah, blah, blah. So we
Right.
have this conversation early in the process so that they're aware it's going to come up. But I've never met somebody who can otherwise, like, if this old loan didn't exist on their credit record and they could get a loan, I've never met somebody who couldn't get a loan even with this on their credit record. We've
Right.
always found a way to update and overcome the DTI, debt to income limits,
Right.
because we can demonstrate that Caleb Christopher, the buyer of your house, is legally obligated to pay, like even stronger than a lease. Usually it requires like a lease to demonstrate, and maybe some seasoning to demonstrate that the payments are being made. But I can help along those lines lenders who are trying to qualify somebody who still has a loan open that somebody else is accountable to pay.
Wow. That's good stuff, man. So Creative TC operates with remote teams across the country, correct?
That's right.
And what's your secret to scaling efficiently while keeping service personal?
Tell me when you figure it out. I don't know how to scale. I haven't figured out how to scale because I'm in a super niche market, and
Right.
it has
Right.
been tough. We're good at what we do, but the surges in volume and sags in volume on a seasonal basis have limited how much I can do and keep a hot and ready staff
Right.
ready
Right.
to go. So we have, that's actually why I ended up starting a title company. We raised capital like last week. We closed out our capital raise, and so we are already live and running. We got like 8 files open, and that's in Colorado. But that's the scalable company. What I figured out in the last 3.5 years, to be honest, is I'm doing a really good thing with Creative TC, and I love it, and I love my people. It's just a very difficult business to scale, and so I'm gonna maintain, but I'm going to build the next business, which gives my people lateral and vertical career mobility because they're trained up, they're experts, and they can shift over. That's actually what we did with the first employees.
Oh,
But
wow.
I've got to build something that's more scalable than the first business. Lessons
Right.
learned.
Okay. So, what's been the biggest misconception about title and transaction coordination that you've had to overcome?
I think a lot of people just need explaining on a creative finance deal. Wait, the loan and the deed are different things. So the deed can go to me as a buyer while the loan stays in your name on public record.
Mm,
They're not the same thing, and they are separatable. So we can transfer just the deed and not the mortgage. Well, we call that
mm,
an informal assumption, right? I'm agreeing informally to make payments on your behalf. And so that
right.
needs explained, sometimes even drawn out for people to make sense of it. Um, absolutely. And then what was the other one?
Um, what's the um, what's the misconception about title and transaction coordination that you had to overcome?
Okay, so there's title. Transaction coordination. Somebody said, "Oh, so you wanted to be a transaction coordinator because they saw that I own a business?" I said, "No, I just wanted to solve a problem in the market. That's why I created the company."
Right.
Transaction coordination is honestly, you're an administrative assistant, and so I see people at all levels of TC work that are trying to charge a lot of money for what they do, and it's like there's a cap on how much you can charge. This is going back to my problem with scalability. There's a maximum you can charge that people are willing to pay
Right.
for what is effectively an administrative assistant.
Right. Right.
I think so. The misconception is on the TC side, thinking I just got a career. No, you got a job,
Right.
and it's very difficult to turn that job into a business.
Right. Right.
And on the customer side, I think it's about what are you actually buying? Are you buying an administrative assistant or are you buying some sort of consultant? And so my branding pushes toward TC stands for transaction consultants with my company because
Okay.
we're trying to way over deliver the value that we charge. Well,
Right.
not
Right.
trying to, we do.
Right. 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 Okay. Well, innovation and technology, right? How does technology play a role in your model? Are you using automation, AI, or digital workflows to make things more seamless? Are you in that space with AI and stuff like that yet?
We use AI as an assistive technology
Hmm.
for the expert people that I have. So we go through trainings together. We work on analyzing contracts, and basically, if we're working on something, we ask AI to attack it. Like, assume you're the other side, and this has gone to court. You're opposing counsel. What are you attacking in this contract? What are the
Right.
weak points? Where can somebody attack this? And then how do we strengthen it? And so, a lot of analysis is assisted by AI, but it still requires a real person sitting in the chair to be a BS meter. You need
Right.
an actual smart person there because AI is just an amplifier
Absolutely.
so far. And so it can amplify smart or it can amplify stupid. And
Right.
so having smart people in the chairs to leverage AI is really important. And so that's what we do
Absolutely.
there. And on the systems and technology side and automations, we have documented our processes
Hmm.
and we've done that like for almost a year. We've got them documented, but we still have to go back and retrain because sometimes what we do doesn't match the process or the
Right.
process doesn't match what we do. And so before we do much automation, it's mostly let's make sure we've got this documented and well understood and people trained on it. And so when Judy says, "Hey, that's not what I do," the question is not it's not automatically assumed that she's wrong or the process is wrong. We look at it and say, all right, is what she's doing better than the process? Should we add an exception to the process? Is the process wrong or is she wrong?
Mhm.
These are all valid questions as you look at that stuff. And once you've actually gone through those iterations of building processes, that's really when you should start doing automation because if you automate the wrong thing, you just create a logjam of problems.
Right. 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 So, in your opinion, what's one of the real estate transactions that you feel that's still stuck in the Stone Age?
I would say the Northeast. I, I think I told you about the New York attorney and real estate agents that I just did a podcast with. They
Right.
were talking about closing costs, and I said, "Hey, you know what? In title company states that don't require dual attorneys and stuff like that,
Mhm.
an investor transaction can closing costs can be as low as 3.5 grand, usually 5 grand or so for
Right.
closing costs."
Right.
And they were like, "Whoa, what?" Yeah, we charge like 2 or 3 grand per attorney. There's two of those, plus there's agent fees, plus there's this, plus there's that, and it takes for it. And I'm like, yeah, you guys, it's almost insurmountable. It just blows my mind that people are willing to pay that much in administrative, just overhead costs just to buy and sell a property. It's
Right.
outrageous to me. And so I think that's part of what's in the Stone Age is it's an unrealistic level of bureaucracy slash too many hands in the pot. Not that they're
Right.
not providing value, but the way it's structured is just too many. There's got to be
Right.
some simplification and some speed up.
Right, right. So, like, what innovations are coming next for you guys that will disrupt the traditional title and closing process? Because it seems like that's where you guys are about to be at some point, if you're not already there.
Yeah, as I did my capital raise pitches for the title company last month, that was one of the questions I wanted to make sure I was ready to answer. And the title industry is over 100 years old. It's very stable. It's very mature. There's not really any trade secrets in the title
Mm,
industry, right? Go get a license, buy the software, and you're in business.
right,
That's it. So anybody watching, if you want to be a title company, just go do it. It takes a few months of licensing work, a background check, and some capital, and you're in business.
right,
That's not the secret. There's no trade secrets there. The secret sauce is really just how you interact with people. Can you actually serve their needs? Not do you have the checklist? Because I don't care if you do a checklist or not. So when AI steps in, it's still an assistive technology. I don't feel threatened by AI. We're in an industry where AI can be an absolute assistive technology. So it will transform the speed
right,
at which we can do things and the scale of how many deals a person can still close. But I don't see AI closing files for a while because insurance companies are not willing to put their money on the line because an AI tool said this is a solid deal.
right,
I'm not. I don't. That doesn't worry me for the next 10 years.
right, right. Okay, that's good stuff, man. So you built a business on trust and ethics, right?
Yeah.
So, what does ethical leadership look like in a high volume, high stress industry like real estate and title?
From the leadership side, it's serving your people. It's realizing that your business is made of people and seeking to serve them. And we have. I do my best to have quarterly reviews with staff. Sometimes it's once every 6 months, but we're getting better as we grow.
Mhm, mhm.
And one of the things that we include, credit to Brandon Dawson and his wife. They talk about PPF, personal, professional, and financial goals. And so that's one of the things we cover in reviews because I want to understand my staff members' life mission, life goals, and all those things. And so when
Right,
we go through what are your personal, professional, and financial goals in life, sometimes people shoot back, I want to learn to be able to handle files this fast, and I want to learn this other thing so that we can XYZ. And I'm like, that's a company goal, not a personal goal. Are you saving for a house? Do you want to have kids? Like help me get to know you because if I am going to serve you as a leader, I want to know what your goals are. I want to call and say, "Hey, how's the kid?" And or are you actually I want to help hold you accountable to your goals. Is working here helping you save for a house? Are you
right.
able to save for a house? Are you doing a good job holding yourself accountable to the goals that you set for yourself? Can I be a stepping stone in your life accomplishing your personal, professional and financial goals?
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. So, industry insights, right? From your perspective, what are the biggest mistake investors or agents making during transactions? I mean, because you're in the thick of it. What do you see?
I see a lot of stuff, and it's hard to pin something down. There's a good explanation for every mistake I see too.
Right,
Like, well, they're not aware of this transaction. Well, they're busy and they've been trained on everything else.
right.
I I would say it's a lack of serving people. It's
Mm,
self interest, right? So do a good job for yourself and serve people, but serving people sometimes means saying, I'm not the right person for this job. I
right.
can help you shop. I can say no. I can help you shop for somebody. I can refer you to somebody else. I would say that's the mistake is not putting the best person in for the job.
Right, right. Okay. So, how can investors better position themselves to avoid costly title or coronation issues before they even start a deal?
Oh, look at reviews. Reviews are the single easiest way to validate, is this person, is this company good at what they do, and will I run into problems?
Mm,
Absolutely.
okay. Okay. So, you work with clients across the country. What regional trends or challenges are you noticing that other investors should pay attention to?
Investors need to be aware of, and I deal mostly with creative finance. So we're doing like wraparound mortgages and private loans. And so foreclosure matters a lot to the people that I work with. Understanding how long it takes to foreclose on a property, and that you've got a runway, you've got a cash runway to be able to afford to run carrying costs and
Mm,
to pay for the cost of foreclosure.
right.
I think that's really important that people understand it. So regionally, there are certain Texas is my easy answer all the time, because if the moon and the stars align perfectly, technically, you could foreclose 21 days after somebody goes into default.
Mm,
If you're a lender, that sounds pretty stinking good. That's a
right.
pretty safe place to be lending, because the foreclosure laws are strict and fast. And so I talked on New York yesterday. It takes 12 months. So you need
Mm,
to have the cash runway to be able to afford that. And again, where the cost of entry is high, there's more money to be made as well. So credit to the high dollar markets, there's more money to be made there. But you had better understand what you're in for before you lock in and get stuck and go negative $70,000 just to stop losing money. Ouch.
right. Right, right, right. Okay, okay. Let's kind of educate the audience a little bit. What's one creative title or coordination hack that can save investors thousands on their next deal? You got anything for them out there?
Ask it again. It might land better.
What's one creative title or coordination hack that can save investors thousands on their next deal?
Oh, easy. Just don't buy title insurance.
Right,
I mean, I say it tongue in cheek. There are times when I've looked at title insurance on a deal, and I sell title insurance, so uh, you know, I stand to make money for people buying title insurance. But I would say there are times when the risk is low enough that I would do a deal without title insurance.
mm,
I don't think it's a wise hack,
right.
but it is a hack. It is one
Right,
way to shave them closing costs, man. Tell you what.
right, right, right. So what's one thing most lenders or agents don't know they can negotiate or streamline in the closing process?
Everything's negotiable.
Everything's negotiable.
Everything's negotiable. That's the beauty, and that's the problem too. If life is a whiteboard, people people like to color in the lines, and if there's no lines, it's like, what do I even do with this?
Right. Okay. So what's your no one's talking about this yet prediction for the future of title or real estate tech?
My number one prediction for tech.
Yeah. The one thing that no one's talking about right now.
Hmm. They're starting to talk about it. There was a surge, and it's kind of gone by the wayside. I think eventually blockchain will work, but
Mm,
it's gonna have its own issues, right? So blockchain would work within a title company. So if we had like a statewide, if it relies on government, it's not going to be changing anytime soon. That's the thing.
mhm,
If somebody can privatize title records, then I think blockchain would take off really fast.
mm. Okay.
And you can buy and sell real estate from your phone because there's proof of ownership, and you don't have to have like you don't nullify the entire title industry, but you skip a lot of the time and trouble involved in that stuff, and you can just transfer title by digital signatures on your phone. You
Mm.
know,
Yeah, that would be good, right?
I don't know. I like the mobility and portability and speed,
Right.
but the hoops and hurdles that have to be, number one, identified and then jumped over or through is outrageous at this point. And if government is one of those hoops, I don't think we'll
Yeah.
fit through it.
Right. Anytime you bring the government in, it's always, it's hiccups, it's mountains to climb, you know. But where do you see Creative TC in the next 3 years? Are you planning to expand nationally or build tech integrations for lenders? What's the plan for the next 3 years?
So I see Creative TC, the first company I built that does the consulting, I see that becoming more of a recruiting and training ground
Mm,
for the employees that I want to work in the other companies. So that for me, Creative TC is a parent company, like from the brand perspective, creative, and then TC can stand for two different words, any two words: transaction coordination, transaction
mhm,
consulting, title company, transaction capital, training company. So in my head, there's a whole empire of businesses built. And so the first one, the consulting company, is a great place to pull people in. Very smart people, pull them in, get them aligned with core values, train them in
mhm,
all the stuff that I need them to know to serve our clients well. Then they
mhm.
hit their ceiling in there. Remember, that's the business that's very hard to scale, but it's a great place to pull people in, train them on all the broad set of things that we want them to know. Then we give them portability into other companies. And so I see it becoming the cornerstone of recruiting and training and feeding the rest of the empire that we build.
Okay, good stuff, man. So, what's one quote or principle that's guided you through entrepreneurship?
Ideas are useless without execution. That's the kick I'm on. I think
Mm,
I've learned it, and then I find at the end of the day that I wrote down seven things and I did one of them, and they were seven great, maybe five great ideas and two trash ones. But guess what? It's actually one good one, and the rest are trash if I can't
mm,
execute.
right. Yeah.
Every day I learn it again and again. Ideas are useless without execution.
Right. So, how can agents, lenders, or investor partners, how can they partner with you or learn more about your business? What would you need to do to kind of get into your world, so to speak?
You gave me a soft pitch here. You can visit calebchristopher.io. I actually have a newsletter, a monthly newsletter where I give my real business financials. So the companies that I own, we publish the financials there, profits and losses, and there are losses from time to time. Then
Right.
we also do the same thing for my real estate portfolio. I've only got 4 rentals. It'll grow over time, but I'm building business right now, and the portfolio is going to grow later. But I post the real stuff. Sometimes 2 units are vacant at the same time. It's like, well, I lost $1,000 this month on my rental portfolio, but like no guru stuff. So calebchristopher.io is where you can get on that newsletter, and the people that are on that newsletter are the first ones who get the option to invest in things. So when I go into the next state with my title company and start another branch, that's the people who get the first option to buy in. We just raised $360,000 for the title company in Colorado, and
Wow.
it's incredible. It's a fantastic journey. It's hard
Right.
work, but it's like if you want to see what's going on, that's where you can follow along and you can see all the companies we own and are managing.
Okay, man. Well, I'm not going to hold you up. I know you're busy. I know you got a million things to do. This has been great. A lot of good, information distributed out to the audience. I'll chop this up, of course. I'll send it over to you if you want to, send out to your platform in any kind of way, because I think you gave us like a lot of information about things that people just don't know about, right? The title piece is like one of those things that I dreamed about having on the platform, because a lot of people, most real estate transactions have to go through title.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't really know about that kind of stuff, and then you just kind of breaking it down, kind of helping them to understand that it's a safe, it's a safe space, and like you say, everything's negotiable, right? You don't have to order, title insurance in some transactions. Folks don't know those things. Folks
Don't
just
quote me
know.
on that, people. Don't quote me on that. You asked for weird for hacks, so you can
Right,
do it.
right. But people don't even, when it comes to title, most people just show up, sign their life away, and they're out the door for the most part.
Yeah.
No one really understands it. They just know They have to have it. They don't question anything. They don't negotiate anything. They just listen to the folks say, hey, this is what, it's going to cost you to do title. And they end up paying it. They don't know. They can say, well, hey, can we, that's 1,000. Can we get that down to 750? So that's kind of big. I think that's going to be like one of the biggest messages from the interview is that when you go into these transactions, really treat it like it's a business, and try to keep as much money in your pocket as possible if you can do that. So that's good stuff. Innovation and technology, where things are going, that's also good. So once again, I appreciate your time, Caleb. It took a second to get here, but it was, well worth the wait, my guys. So I'll be reaching out to you at some point just to kind of, get some more information because I do a lot of transactions myself as a broker,
Okay.
a lot of investor transactions. So, I don't even know what and where you do title work at, but we're always looking for, title folks that we can, bring our clients to. And it sounds like you would be like the ideal person we would want to do business with. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I feel like.
Yeah. Because we do a lot of transactions. So I don't know, that's what I'm saying. I'll get back to you at a later time to kind of just, see where you're doing business at, because we do it all over the country. And, a lot of times we do need title. Folks don't come to the table with their own title companies.
Right.
They look at us to help them with that. So
Yeah, they expect you to provide vetted companies so that they're
exactly.
not making the wrong choice that's going to cause delays in closing or treat them like a task rather than a person.
Exactly. So I'll definitely be reaching out to you, kind of getting some insights on where you're doing business at, how we can get involved and, how we can bring business to the table. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is about. Of course, it's an interview, but I'm always thinking like, how can I do business with the person that I'm interviewing? And we've done, interviews with folks that do crypto lending, that do a lot of credit stuff. And we've already engaged those guys to, kind of bring those products into our world. And we would like to do the same with you as well. So looking forward to it, man. Like I said, once again, thanks again for, giving us your time, because it's the only thing we can't get back. So if you have any questions for us, or if you need anything from me, feel free to reach out to me at any time, my friend.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Okay. Have a great day, man.
You too.
Okay. Bye-bye. That was Caleb Christopher. Man, great guy. I love what they do. I just like the fact that, it's about, ethics and, creating a safe transaction, for clients. And that's big, because a lot of times when you're out here, and you're trying to build generational wealth, and you're trying to do real estate transactions, you just hope you run across a person like Caleb, to be honest with you, because there's a lot of sharks out here that will take full advantage of you. And to have someone, like him that, can offer the types of services on a honest level is huge, is big in the world of real estate. So, we really appreciate Caleb coming up and just kind of talking, to us about what he does, what his company does. And if you want to reach out, go to his website and, see how he could be of some help to you. And that's at creativetc.io. I think it would be in your best interest to, to do that. So that was Caleb Christopher, guys. He's doing big things, and from the looks of it, he's consistent, he's growing, and at some point, like I was telling him, I would love to do business with him as well. So we're gonna reach out to Caleb at a later time and see if we can make that happen. But let's keep it moving. We're gonna transition, and we're going to talk about some other things. Let's see here. What do you guys want to talk about? We're going to get into, let's bring up our first thing. As millions of Americans head home for the holidays, Bankrate's largest survey finds that there's one dinner topic that will likely generate more heartburn than the typical conversation taboos about politics or religion. It's money. The National Opinion Poll found that about 3 in 5 U.S. adults, 61%, said they would be uncomfortable talking about their bank account balances with family members or close friends. And other financial subjects like credit card debt or annual salaries don't spark much enthusiasm either. In comparison, Bankrate's financial taboos survey found that about 1 in 4 were similarly uncomfortable sharing their political views, and nearly 1 in 5 were resistant to sharing their religious views. Talking about money may feel weird, but Kristen Benz, director of personal finance and retirement planning at Morningstar, thinks it's worth it to push through the unease, right? So, as a matter of fact, we're just going to stop right there. I think the interview with Caleb was, enough to the point where we're gonna just kind of cut it off there. We're gonna pick this back up next week, folks. Got a lot going on over here, so I'm just glad we were able to get that interview in the can. And we're gonna go ahead and exit stage left right here, and then we'll kind of come back next week when we kind of got everything up and running the way that we're supposed to have it up and running. So I apologize for not being able to get into our hot topics or our hacks, but we got a good interview in with Caleb, so we'll just kind of take that for now, and we'll be back next week fully armed and dangerous to report on hot topics and talk about some other things as well. So it's been nice. We'll talk to you guys soon. Much love.